Hi, y'all. My name is Diamond Whitley. I serve as the Youth Engagement Specialist at Voice Impaact, and I'm so excited to share my experience with you all. As a youth in the foster care system, I often felt like my voice didn't matter. It wasn't until I had an experience as a former foster youth that I understood how important my voice was, not only for my life, but to improve the system. In my current role, I connect with youth, run the social media, and do anything I can to bring good representation to One Voice Impact. Because of my great follow through, I was chosen to be a part of the Performance Improvement Prototype, or PIP work group in Florida. When I started the PIP prototype, I had no idea what I was doing. I found refuge in the shadows, so to speak. I didn't understand the data, and it really diminished my confidence. I also did not have half of the experience as the child welfare professionals around me. So I didn't feel like I belonged, but I also had nothing to offer. I felt like it really put me in a low place where I wanted to quit altogether. My supervisor scheduled a call with me and the leading person on the PIP work group. It was explained to me that my experience was why I was called for, not my knowledge of data. It was appreciated, but not required. From there, my confidence grew. I started to break out of my shell and express my experiences. Immediately, when I started to share, the group took everything I said seriously. Not everything I said made it into the final draft, of course, but everything was broken down and made sure it was relevant. But there were other experiences during my time in care where my voice did not seem like it mattered. I remember being invited to court every 6 months for hearings. Each time it felt like the same routine, waiting forever just to get called for 2 minutes and leave. Sometimes I had to see my mother, which put me in a very uncomfortable position, not only physically, but emotionally too. If I understood my role there and I was able to be better prepared for the experience, got a chance to speak, and was debriefed after, I think I would have felt better about the opportunity to advocate for myself. Not knowing when and how to use my voice came up again when it was time for my transition planning at age 18. When I first entered the system, I was told that I could get my own apartment and I could go to college anywhere I wanted for free and that I could get my housing paid for. Then, during a 30-minute staffing that I had, I learned that the tuition waiver was only for colleges in the state of Florida, and I was told that I still had to live with a foster parent until I graduated. I felt like I had no choice. Not knowing any better, I ended up staying with two different foster families who were not very welcoming. It was a tough time for me emotionally, and if I understood my choices better and used my voice, I would have avoided living at those homes and been comfortable in my own apartment probably. I share this experience to say that this is not how it has to be. I had no idea I could advocate for myself, which caused me to miss out on a lot of activities that could have established normalcy during my transition. I shouldn't have missed out on a whole day of school not to be heard at my court hearings. When youth come into the system, they should be told about their options for placement, transition, and permanency. Without this information and the ability to make choices, youth are unprepared for what happens next and will not be prepared for self-sufficiency. How do we fix this? We need to start integrating youth voice at all levels of the child welfare system, not in a tokenized kind of way, but in an authentic, caring relationships kind of way. Child welfare professionals should be building up youth to speak on issues before they become problems. These youth should not only be trained, but incentivized to invest their time being involved in the system. These youth should have a seat at the table, and they should be involved in most aspects of the system. For example, in my position, I am paid $15 an hour to host trainings, talk to legislators, and to connect them with youth one-on-one about their situations. This establishes a sense of respect. It says that my time that I contribute to helping these youth is so valuable that I will be paid for everything that I do. This is how we should be treating our youth as we ask them to better the system. Another way to engage youth is by developing youth councils, whose sole role is to be the voice of the youth and to advocate for their needs. Child welfare professionals don't often get an opportunity to hear from youth, but if you have youth councils or youth representatives at every level of the system, leaders will learn about their lived experiences and allow them to be a part of developing the solution. Now, imagine there is an issue in a certain circuit. How do they usually find out? I would guess that multiple youth endure this service issue. Some tell their case managers, then some of the case managers tell their supervisors, then nothing really happens until it gets out of hand. When the situation does get out of hand, the situation has to wait even longer because you have to investigate why the service issue began in the first place, why it continued after being addressed, and how to stop it. Then you either have to establish new legislation or retrain the service providers on how it should go. Now let's look at it from a perspective of having a youth council. There is a development of a service issue. The youth attend the local youth council meeting and voice their concerns. The youth contact the system professionals to converse about the issue and come to a solution. Best case scenario, the service issue improves and no further action is needed. How does that sound? It sounds much more organized to me. Why is this important, you may ask? Well, let me ask you this. Why was the system created? To help youth who were dealt a bad hand. The system is supposed to be their saving grace, their shot at a better life. But many youth leaving the system are not at all ready for what comes next. They are feeling just as lost and afraid as when they came into care. Right now, in the system, we can change that. We can make youth voice not only accepted, but required. We can tell youth across the state that the system is for them. We can tell them that they really do matter. And why wouldn't we? If we have the opportunity right here, right now, why wouldn't we? Thank you.